The next time 2020 lowers you, remember one thing: wild humpback whales sing off the coast of Alaska. Every summer, more than 1 million coastal tourists visit Alaska, where they can watch whales and glaciers. They were reported to be floating petri dishes. 5. Before COVID-19. The annual flood triples the government's population of about 750,000. After the outbreak, that number dropped to 0.6, and many of the music-winning humpbacks wrote about their newcomers to peace of mind good summer beats. For the first time in human history, we have the technological ability to listen to these whales in a meaningful way without interfering, said Dr. Michelle Bornett, director of the Phonological Research Group. Back to terra firma, many species enjoy a room with a long limited elbow. A few weeks later, sika deer began to roam outside their normal habitat in Nara, Japan, and wild turtles began to congregate in a park in Oakland, California. The wolves in Tel Aviv, the goats in Istanbul, and the Luban sea lion, 7, on land near Buenos Aires have all been revealed by our retreat from the landscape. One of 2020's crowning achievements has been the drastic, rapid decrease in conventional weddings. If there was one large gathering mainstay that seriously needed a disruptive force, it was weddings. It took the worst of circumstances to spare us all from the best man and maid of honor drunkenly bombing as you stare awkwardly from a table where you neither know anyone nor care to. Many, if not most, people hate weddings. 8. Viewing nuptial invitations as embroidered harbingers of obligatory check writing and boredom. Hell, even the bride and groom hate what the wedding does to them leading up to the big day, as a sacred event that should be about love is soured into an expensive, obsessive, neurotic chore. 9. 2020 has given us the best excuse ever to 1. Not plan large weddings and 2. Not attend them. Just check the box on the RSVP marked "Sorry, I do not wish to die alone on a ventilator during your honeymoon." Safety first has put long overdone mass matrimonial gatherings last, a refreshing reprioritizing. A recent Wall Street Journal 10 article discusses another COVID-related issue that trends toward eloping, what for many self-important engaged couples is some much-needed perspective. A couple featured in the piece canceled their 150-person ceremony to instead marry with no one other than their dog in attendance. Before friends and family via FaceTime, they even served as their own officiants. Amid a global pandemic, said the bride, a lavish wedding really just didn't feel important anymore. Best wedding speech ever. The number of people wanting a divorce has increased by 34% compared to 2019. At first glance this may seem like bad news, since ending a marriage is no fun idea. In 2020, COVID-19 will be the driving force behind almost everything. As couples have been cooperating for a long time, some have realized that it is not worth the wait for a divorcee to die. Special Stress argues that stress, unemployment, financial strain, illness, and homeschooling have a significant impact on children's relationships. However, COVID is not really a cause for divorce but a catalyst. Placing two people who are not really together in close places forces each other to show their true colors. Without offices, friends and other buffers, it is revealed what unmatched marriages are. It is better to pair two alone. Difficulties mean two people actually getting closer. Many couples who call it COVID withdrawal are only accelerating the separation rather than accelerating it. In that context, it is better for people to recognize their failed marriage than a decade. But what about children? Leading law firm says 45% of divorced couples have children under the age of 18 since the outbreak. Found. But staying together for the kids, according to Wendy Paris, author of Spleetopia. They can be worse than divorce regardless. Unlike the housing bubble of the mid-2000s that carried it when the global economy exploded, this time the rise in house prices is built on the good economics of supply and demand rather than borrowing for milk. No refunds. Recently, housing price increases, what else? Are a byproduct of COVID-19. For the good of wealthy but risky cities, residents are fleeing to the suburbs because the elbow room in the middle of a long-running epidemic has become more of a lifesaver than a mere luxury life. The result is a boom in satellite neighborhoods such as New Jersey and the Greater Bay Area of California. In East Orange, the NJ Newark border has a poverty rate of 20% and a crime rate of 35% above the national average, $285,000. Denver, Chicago, Houston, there has been a significant increase in mortgage applications for suburban housing, 19, with many long-struggling middle-class families literally sitting on shares they did not own before 2020. Metro areas outside the United States, including London, Paris, 20, and Tokyo. Once upon a time, the Robin Hood-esque ripple into a housing bubble. The less affluent make huge profits from wealthy buyers, happy to pay a premium to escape the crowded, contagious cities. The good news is that this is the next entry on this list. Any office worker who commutes unscathed, describes our growing number day by 2020-21, can't I just throw this out of the house? There is a shortage of versions. For many, the flying length of a crab in transit is absurdly irrelevant and the time it takes to travel. For example, in northern New Jersey, it takes more than an hour to travel to the business district of Manhattan, despite the clusters of cities within 15 miles of New York City. Each month, that means more workweek time, about 40 hours, traveling to and from the office. Why were we unable to work from home? This is largely because managers did not believe that employees would be fired. But with the advent of COVID-19, working from home has seldom moved from a permitted luxury item to an all-permeable safety requirement. Most of the people who could make a living from our laptops overnight were doing just that. Despite fears that traditional passengers would find it difficult to work hard, the experiment of this great labor force has been largely successful. In fact, out-of-home businesses have seen unexpected benefits, 22, including increased meeting attendance and improved management focus. Even before COVID, research revealed that remote workers were often more productive than their travel counterparts. Among other reasons, workers from home spend more time working in cars, buses and subways. One study reported that overtime workers in the home typically work 1.4 extra days month. It took a long, wide range of locks to get us there, but 2020 saw a healthy growth in book reading. For those unfamiliar, books are similar to the internet but printed and put together on paper. Pages are usually numbered for your convenience, no need to scroll or click. A survey of 1,000 Britons found that reading time has nearly doubled. On average, their weekly readings ranged from 3.5 to 6 hours per week. More than half of the respondents read more because they had more time because 35% quoted books and offered a crisis escape. Adapting to this mindset is a variation on genre preference that transcends crime novels and adventure dystopian fiction and epidemic-centric fiction. Even in the early stages of locking, it is clear that book sales are on the rise. MarketWatch reports that outdoor survival skills have enhanced everything from Toms to literary classics such as The Great Gatsby. Children also get involved in acting. In addition to the expected increase in academic workbooks and home teaching aids, youth fiction has grown by an unbelievable 65% from late February to mid-April. By 2020, most snowflakes will have melted. In a world race with safe spaces and participation trophies, the marquee motivation for humanity in 2020, self-preservation, is not put forward to serve generously. These unprecedented times have forced us to stop expressing people's feelings for our own good. On a day-to-day basis, at least every day on a 2020 basis, that thought process goes something like this: I spent months in my home, taking good care of my health and the health of my loved ones. I will not allow this idiot to ruin 5 months of prudence with 5 seconds of irresponsibility. In less than a year, COVID-19 has killed more than 1 million people. It is a matter of concern that some people still do not wear masks or maintain social distance. It's like these people live on Mars. Oh, since December 2019 or so, the Earth's atmosphere has been restored for a while before a cough on someone's face. This has been done by forcing Western civilization, which is highly symbolic, to cut off the polite provincial cavalry. Before 2020, it will not be easy for people to direct their Uber needs into mainstream society. By 2020, everything from historical monuments to literary classics will be worth provoking us with real-life questions. Walking, suffocation carriers, according to all the evidence, believe that the next pair of lungs is connected to a hospital vent. Maybe they don't. By 2020, most snowflakes will have melted. In a world race with safe spaces and participation trophies, the marquee motivation for humanity in 2020, self-preservation, is not put forward to serve generously. These unprecedented times have forced us to stop expressing people's feelings for our own good. On a day-to-day basis, at least every day on a 2020 basis, that thought process goes something like this: I spent months in my home, taking good care of my health and the health of my loved ones. I will not allow this idiot to ruin 5 months of prudence with 5 seconds of irresponsibility. In less than a year, COVID-19 has killed more than 1 million people. It is a matter of concern that some people still do not wear masks or maintain social distance. It's like these people live on Mars. Oh, since December 2019 or so, the Earth's atmosphere has been restored for a while before a cough on someone's face. This has been done by forcing Western civilization, which is highly symbolic, to cut off the polite provincial cavalry. Before 2020, it will not be easy for people to direct their Uber needs into mainstream society. By 2020, uncertain motivational warnings have been replaced by everything from historical monuments, 27, to literary classics, 28. Real-life problems that are really worth triggering for us. Walking, carriers of suffocation, according to all the evidence, believe that the next pair of lungs are involved. They may not be up to the hospital ventilator. The fastest vaccine for a major disease was developed 4 years ago, when vaccines against mammals became available. 2020 looks like it's going ahead so far. The world is witnessing what ranks among the greatest achievements in medical history, a vaccine for a deadly, globally contagious disease in less than half that time. Of course, a vaccine is definitely not for weeks, and we are not around the corner, unless there is a graveyard around the block. On October 23, the United States reported 85,000 new COVID cases. But epidemiology is a painful process that deals not only with drug development but also with patient controls, production, and delivery. Considering this, it's amazing how close we are. Several drug companies are in the 3rd stage, the final stage of their clinical studies involving large-scale, placebo-comparative testing, which, in fact, produces drugs if approval is required. Johnson & Johnson's vaccine, which restarts in the 3rd stage, shows a special promise by not being linked to the drug, because it can be administered in a single dose, and not logically should be too cold throughout the supply chain. Meanwhile, the industry is poised to become active once a vaccine is approved by major government health organizations. Pharmaceutical companies around the world have redesigned equipment and invested in infrastructure, producing, testing and shipping billions needed to restore the planet. For the damage they have done, we look at you, the opioid crisis stimulant Purdue Pharma. The big pharmaceuticals in 2020 have acted proactively, responsibly and unselfishly,